Om Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Saka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Sri Dakshinamurti Sudeshikendram Dvaipayanam Sutrakritam Munindram Sri Shankaram Bhashyakritam Yatindram Maddeshi Kanchapi Namami Vityai Om Namo Brahma Dibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsarishibhyo Mahatbhyo Namo Gurubhyah Sarvopaplavarahita Prajnana Ganaha Pratyagarto Brahmaivaham Asmi Om Prapannaparijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gita Mritaduhe Namaha. Pranams everyone. So we are doing the first chapter now. In the first chapter, as you know, this Bhagavad Gita itself, in Mahabharata, it comes on the 10th day. On the 10th day, when Bhishma falls, Bhishma doesn't die. So Bhishma has got this boon that he can actually pick up the date and time of his death. But he falls down in the war on the 10th day, and when Dhritarashtra hears that from Sanjaya, then Dhritarashtra instructs Sanjaya to start detailing what had happened from the first day onwards. So the first chapter, the first sloka was Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakah Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. So basically he asks Sanjaya, what did my people, Mamaka and the Pandavas Chaiva, Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. Samaveta means who are assembled, Yuyutsava means who are eager to fight. So what did my people and the Pandavas do? So it basically showed Dhritarashtra's attachment towards his own sons. So he had a bias already in his mind. And he says Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Kurukshetra, the land of Dharma, where a lot of Punya Karyams had happened. In that land, what had happened? So this is the first sloka. And as I said, Dhritarashtra doesn't come after this in any of these slokas in Bhagavad Gita. So Sanjaya now has to respond. So Sanjaya Vacha, second sloka. Sanjaya Vacha Drishta tu Pandava Nikam Vyudam Duryodhanastada Acharyam Raja Vachanam Abravit Drishta tu Pandava Nikam Vyudam Duryodhanastada Acharyam Raja Vachanam Abravit. So here basically Sanjaya speaks. Sanjaya Vacha. Sanjaya speaks. And Sanjaya has to start from somewhere. So he says, Sanjaya speaks and then he says Drishtatu. Drishtva means having seen. And having seen, and Sanjaya has to start from the first day of the war, and because it is asked by Dhritarashtra, what he does is basically he wants to keep the king also in good spirit. So the king loves his son. So basically the first character that he brings about in his story is about his son. So he says, he talks about Duryodhana. So he starts with Dhritarashtra's son, so he is happy. Already saw that Dhritarashtra is so attached to his sons. So he starts there. And Sanjaya, as you know, is the charioteer of Dhritarashtra. And Duryodhana, what does he do? Drishtva tu means having seen Vyudam Pandava Nikam. The Pandava Nikam means the army of Pandavas. Vyudam means the vyuha of Pandavas. So in Pandava Nikam, Anikam means army. Pandava Nikam means army of Pandavas. Vyudam means well arranged. It goes through a pattern. And in Yuddha Shastra, there are varieties of vyuhams. So there are various ways the army is arranged or when in the battlefield. So you have Padma Vyuham, Chakra Vyuham, Garuda Vyuham, all those things. These are all tactical positioning of the army to trap the enemies. So we know, we have heard of story of Abhimanyu, how he got trapped in the Chakra Vyuham. He knew how to enter, but he didn't know how to get out. This Vyudam principle is also used in a lot of temples, like in Madurai Meenakshi temple also, you will see all these Vyuhams. There it is not meant to trap anyone, but it is done with an architectural standpoint. So, and there is no negative motive in those Vyuhams. Whereas in this war or in wars, normally it is done with a negative motive so that the opposite party gets trapped. And Duryodhana says, having seen the Vyudams of the Vyuhams of the Pandava army, Duryodhana saw that. But again, we'll have to go into Duryodhana's mind now. Duryodhana's mindset before this war, just before this war, he was extremely overconfident. He was so sure of his victory because he knew he had on his side a large army, and on top of it he had people like Bhishma and Drona and all Kripa and others who are all gurus and masters of all these Pandavas. The only person whom he actually feared was Krishna. But Krishna had already given a word that he will not lift a weapon. So he was extremely overconfident. He was sure of his victory. Generally, overconfidence is bad. Having no confidence is also bad. That's why in Thirukkural, Valluvar says basically assess your strength, but also see the opposition strength. Also assess what is the complexity of the job that has been given, the support that you can get. Based on that only assess all these things, and only then after that you start your job. It's kind of a management workshop given by Valluvar there. It's Vinay Sayal Vahe Adhigaram. In that Adhigaram you can see all these Kurals there. So before we start any job, first we will have to assess how is our strength, what are the complications that might arise, what are the risks that might have, that this job might get, what kind of support we can get. Based on that we should do. And any job that we do should be good for all, not just for ourselves, but good for the society as a whole. And it must be done with a proper understanding of the job. What will be the consequence if I am not able to do this job properly? What will be the consequence if I do my job properly? All those things must be assessed. Now, this is Duryodhana's mindset now. He has been overconfident. He has come to this war now. Now, at the start, when as they say, when the rubber meets the road, when actually the things start here, right? Now, Duryodhana has some amount of fear. You can sense that through the words that he speaks now. But that fear, he wants to overcome that fear by speaking. Some people, when they are afraid, they speak a lot. So that they think that by speaking a lot, by pouring it out, they will be able to overcome that. So here, Duryodhana is about to speak. And Sanjaya says, having seen the army of the Pandavas arrayed, Drishtva tu Pandava Nikam Vyudam Duryodhana. And how does he call Duryodhana? How does he refer Duryodhana? In the second line you see Raja. He is already saying Raja. He is already saying king. He is the prince and he is the heir as well. So he is the king. And what does Duryodhana see? Acharyam Upasangamya. Acharyam Upasangamya. he approached. Upasangamya means approached. Whom he approached? Acharyam. Acharyam means, who is the Acharya of Pandavas and Kauravas? Drona. So he is Guru in warfare. Acharya, you have multiple Acharyas normally in various fields. You have every field, you have an Acharya. Here it is the war field, and therefore battlefield. The Acharya refers to Drona here. This is Yuddha Shastra. So he went to Dronacharya. Raja Duryodhana Upasangamya Acharyam. And what did he do? Vachanam Abravit. Raja Vachanam Abravit. Abravit means spoke. Vachanam means words. So he spoke these words. When does he speak? Tada. Duryodhanas tada, we see. Tada means at that time. So basically at that time means what? In the 10th day, when Sanjaya refers to at that time, it means the first day of the war. Tada. So Drishtva tu Pandava nikam vyudam Duryodhanas tada. At that time, having seen the army of the Pandavas arrayed, Raja Duryodhana approached Dronacharya and spoke these words. So this is the second Sloka's explanation. In this chapter, we will be going a bit fast in terms of the Slokas. Then once we come to the second chapter, we will be going a bit slow, because each Sloka in second chapter becomes a lot more to explain. Here it is only a story, so we'll just go with the meanings. Wherever there is need for explanation, we'll do that. So this is the second Sloka. So now what did Duryodhana say to Drona? That comes in the third Sloka. Sloka number 3. Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamu Vyudam Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamu Vyudam Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. Here the Sloka we have to just supply Duryodhana Uvacha, because it is Duryodhana who is speaking now. Okay, it is reported by Sanjaya. So he says Acharya. Acharya means O teacher. Hey Dronacharya, he says, Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum. Pashyaitam, you can say Pashya etam, see this. Pashya etam, see. Pashya means see, etam means this. Pashyaitam Mahatim Chamum. Mahatim Chamum. The last words, 2 words of the first line. Mahatim Chamum means the vast army. Mahati, Mahat, we always use vast, big. So Mahatim Chamum, this vast army. Whose vast army? Pandu Putranam, the sons of Pandu, the Pandavas. So he says now, remember I told you Duryodhana had a vast army already. His army was vast when compared to Pandava's army. And yet, because of the fear, he says, see the large army of Panduputras. So Duryodhana is getting a little jittery. So though he feels that his army has the strength, he feels they lack the quality, they lack the skill. And he further says, Tava Sishyena, second line, second set, Tava Sishyena Dhimata. Dhimata means, Tava Sishyena means your disciple. Dhimata means skillful disciple. So he basically says, Acharya, your skillful disciple, your top student. Your top student. Who is the top student? Drupada Putrena. Drupada's son. Drupada's son is basically Drishtadhumnya. And you know that Pandava's army was actually led by Drishtadhumna at the start. So Drishtadhumna, he was the Sena Nayak of Pandava army. Now, why does Duryodhana say Tavad Dhimata Sishyena? Because he wants to needle or irritate Dronacharya. He wants to irritate Dronacharya by calling Drishtadhumna as his top student. If you know the story, basically Drupada, who is actually Drishtadhumna's father, Drupada and Drona, they were students in the same ashrama. And Drupada was already a king, he is a prince. So Drona was actually a Brahmin and he was poor. When Drupada, after he became king, when Drona went to meet him to seek help or anything, to be sort of re-establish the friendship, Drupada insulted Drona. So Drona had this feeling, I have been humiliated, I have to take revenge on Drupada. And what he wanted to do is, that's why he came to this Kauravas and Pandavas. Then he actually taught them, and he wanted to humiliate Drupada. And he actually humiliated Drupada by sending the army of Kauravas and Pandavas when they were together, and humiliated Drupada. But what happened? Drupada didn't stop there. Drupada then vowed to actually avenge his humiliation. He said, okay, I will now take revenge on Drona. And therefore Drupada actually, he did a penance, he did some tapas, he wanted to get a son who will kill Drona, who can kill Drona. So he got Drishtadhumna. Now Duryodhana knows that Dronacharya doesn't like Drupada or Drishtadhumna. But Drupada sent his son to Dronacharya for learning archery. Look at the irony. And Drona did not say no. He agreed and he taught Drishtadhumna. Now Duryodhana wants to, his wickedness comes out here. Basically, he wanted to insult his teacher, he wanted to needle his teacher, so that he can get, the teacher gets angry and he actually reflects that in the work that he has to do. So he says, think of your stupidity, Acharya. You taught the science of fight to the son of Drupada and those to these Pandavas, and now they are arrayed here, they have arranged themselves here to kill you and me. So this is how he wants to actually project. So he says, may you see this vast army of Pandavas, Pashyaitam Mahatim Chamum Panduputranam. They are arrayed, Vyudam. Arrayed by who? Drupada Putrena, by the son of Drupada. So, and who is Drupada Putrena? Drishtadhumna Tava Dhimata Sishyena. Your top skillful disciple. So Duryodhana is very angry already. He says, Tava Sishyena, you are. See, in the family also, when the son does some mischief, what happens when the children, when they do mischief, what happens? The parents, when they fight, they'll say, your son did this problem. Your son is the cause. The wife will say to the husband, your son is the problem. Or the husband will say to the wife, your son is the problem. So whenever there is a problem, we will try to disown them. And we'll say that we'll try to show the ownership to the other person, transfer the ownership there. So like that, Duryodhana is trying to say, your Shishya has done all this mischief. So now Drupada or Drishtadhumna, after learning all the archery, he is coming here to destroy you. Drishtadhumna, who was born exclusively for killing Drona. So this is a kind of a puja. Bhagavan will This is a kind of a tamasa puja. Bhagavan later in later chapters, when he actually describes bhakti, when he describes puja, he will say puja itself or any kind of homam or yajna itself can be classified into three: sattva, rajas and tamas. This tamasa puja is a puja which is meant to destroy others, which is the lowest, which we should not do, which we should avoid at any cost. So some people actually even pray, for let him go to hell. I wish and pray that the other person doesn't succeed. All these things are tamasa guna reflection. So we should avoid doing such prayers. We should not do these prayers. This is our tamasa puja. Then you have rajasa puja. Rajasa puja is okay, not great but not bad also. Rajasa puja is about selfish puja, where we say, I want this, let me get this, I pray to you Bhagavan that I will get this. So this is about selfish motive. Then you have Satvika puja, which is done for the well-being of the whole world, where we say Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. So this is Satvika puja. So here Drupada has done a tamasa yajna to get this son only for the purpose of killing Drona. And when he did this yajna, from the Agni Kunda, Drishtadhumnya came out, it says. And then Drishtadhumnya goes to Drona himself to get, learn archery. And remember, Drona knows that Drishtadhumnya one day will use all these skills against him. But the Acharya Dharma was, in those days, was such that if the Sishya was qualified enough and he comes with Shraddha, then asking for knowledge, and if I have the knowledge, I will have to share, I will have to give. That is how Dharma Shastra worked. Just as many parents, when they actually bring up a child, they wouldn't know whether the child will take care of them in the later age or the old age, but they still do, because their duty is to protect the child. So in the same way, Acharya Dharma was such that if I had the knowledge and if the person is qualified, then I will teach. So Drona gives all his knowledge to Drishtadhumnya. And this is what Duryodhana is reminding Drona now. Hey Drona, listen, look, he had actually learnt all this from you, and now he is standing in front of you to kill you. So this is the Sloka. Sloka number 3. Yes, Karthik, you had a question?
Yeah, Guruji. So my question was, for spirituality, they say that you have to transcend all of the gunas, right?
Mm-hmm.
In general.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything to say, how do we transcend this? Now, you talked about, Satvika guna is better than the other two. So, is that line of thought we have to follow? Or is there any other, any suggestion from the Vedanta side to how do you transcend? It's generally said that, right? Even
yes,
you have to yeah.
So Gunatitan is the ultimate stage that we have to reach. And in fact, in chapter 14, we would be talking about Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. Okay, where we would be discussing about how to transcend all these gunas. So we would be discussing that in detail in chapter 14. But anyway, in chapter 2 itself, or chapter 2, 3 itself, we will be discussing slightly on that. And then in detail, we will discuss in chapter 14.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll go to the next shloka. Sloka number 4. Atra shura maheshvasaha bhimarjuna samayudhi yuyudhano viratascha drupadascha maharatah Atra shura maheshvasaha Bhimarjuna samayudhi Yuyudhano viratascha Drupadascha maharatah. So Duryodhana's words continue here, and in these verses Duryodhana is basically listing out the important warriors. He's basically talking about who are the powerful soldiers, who are the powerful generals on the side of the Pandavas. And who are they? He calls them as Atra. In this army, he is referring to Pandava army. Atra Shuraha Maheshvasaha. Shuraha. Shuraha means powerful. Maheshvasaha means archers. And actually, Maheshvasaha. Ishvasaha means bow, the Dhanu. Maheshvasaha means Mahadhanu. So those people who yield those powerful heavy bows, which are received from great sources. Some, as you know, I mean, the bow itself can be received from divine sources also. So he says there are many people, Shuraha, it's pure plural there, many powerful archers, or basically people who wield this powerful bows, and he lists them out. And when he lists them out, the first name that comes to Duryodhana's mind is not Arjuna, is not Yudhishthira, is not any of the other people, not Drishtadhumnya, not Drupad, not Purijit, not Kunti Bhoja, nothing. The first name that comes to his mind is Bhima. He was obsessed with Bhima, and therefore the first name that comes to his mind is Bhima. And then the next name, Arjuna. So, Atra Shuraha Maheshvasaha Bhimarjuna Samayudhi. Who are these powerful warriors or archers? He says they are equal to Bhima and Arjuna. Who are equal to Bhima and Arjuna? In what? Yudhi. Yudhi means in war. They are equal to Bhima and Arjuna in war. And he starts naming them. The first name after that he names is Yuyudhana. Yuyudhana means, Yuyudhana refers to Satyaki. Satyaki is the person he refers to. Then Virataha. Virataha is the king of Virata country. As you know, what happened was, before this war, everybody had to take sides. So this war was not just between Pandavas and Kauravas. All the neighboring kingdoms had to join this war, and they had to take the side either of Kauravas or Pandavas. It was, in those days, it was like of world war. Basically, everybody had to get involved. And so either you are in my side or their side. So here you would see that the armies are not just of the Pandava and the Kaurava army, the armies are from the other neighboring kingdoms as well. And so he is now going to list out who are the kings or supporters of Pandavas. Satyaki, Viratascha, the king of Virata country. Then Drupada, Cha Drupadaha. Drupadaha is, Drishtadhumna's father, Drupada, Draupadi's father. And he says, Maharatha. All of them are considered to be a Maharatha. Maharatha or Maharathi is a title that is given to certain people based on their capacity and accomplishment. In corporate worlds, we call this project manager, then project director, program manager, program director, that kind of hierarchy. So Maharataha is at a very high grade. There are Ardharataha, then you have Maharataha, then you have Adhirataha. So you have different levels. So here he is referring as Maharataha. And a Maharathi is defined as Ekodasha Sahasranam Yodhaye Yastu Dhanvinam Sastra Shastra Pravinascha Maharataha iti Spritaha. Who can have this title of Maharataha? It says the one who can single-handedly fight 10,000 soldiers at one time. So he is capable of actually engaging 10,000 people at the same time. So that is how a Maharataha is defined. And who are these Maharataha? He is referring as Satyaki, Viratascha, Virataha, king of Virataha. Virataha means the king of Virata, and Drupada. And if he has to be an Atirathi, he has to fight much more than 10,000 people. So this is how he is referring to them. So he is referring basically the listing out. The list will go for a few more shlokas. We will see them. So basically here Duryodhana is feeling jittery, and he is now first needling Drona, and then the second thing he does is basically he is feeling that that army is vast. Now he is saying not only vast, they have quality soldiers on their side who are capable of winning or taking 10,000 people at a single-handedly. He further lists out more people. Shloka number 5. Drishtaketu. But before that, before we go there, maybe what we should do is actually, in terms of the army itself, in those days, the armies were actually referred as, now you have this battalion, all these things in today's army terms. You have this battalion and that battalion. There we used to call it as Akshouhini. Akshouhini means a division. And each Akshouhini will have a certain number of what used to call as Ratha Gaja Uraga Padati. Ratha Gaja Uraga Padati means, Ratha means chariot, Gaja elephant, Turaga means horses, and then Padati means the infantry soldiers. So you have actually a mixture of all these four is one division. And without one Akshouhini, Akshouhini will have a certain number of chariots, certain number of elephants, and a certain number of horses and certain number of infantrymen. And there is a lot of terms. You have actually, they say one chariot, one elephant, 3 horses and 5 soldiers become patti. They call it as patti. And 3 pattis of that, which means 3 chariots, 3 elephants, 9 horses and 15 soldiers becomes 1 Sena Mukham. And then 3 Sena Mukhams becomes 1 Gulma. These are all for only, there is available in Wikipedia. 3 Gulmas become 1 Gana, 3 Ganas become 1 Vahini, 3 Vahinis become 1 Pratana, 3 Pratanas become 1 Chamu, and 3 Chamus become 1 Anikini, and 10 such Anikinis become 1 Akshouhini. So 1 Akshouhini consists of 21,870 elephants, 21,870 chariots, 65,610 horses, and 1,09,350 soldiers. So 1 Akshouhini consists of basically 218,700 soldiers, or 218,700 soldiers. And this does not include all the mahots and the charioteers who will not fight. So without them, it is about one Akshouhini at about 2,18,700 soldiers or warriors, plus of course the elephants and horses. Now, if this is one Akshouhini, the Pandava army at that time had 7 Akshouhinis. 7 Akshouhinis. The Kaurava army had 11. So Pandava army had about 1.5 million warriors, and Kaurava army had about 2.4 million warriors. Almost they were like 1.5 times of Pandavas. So Kaurava army was numerically superior. From a skill standpoint also, you had people like Bhishma, Drona, Kripa and all those things. So the total warriors who were involved in this war were close to 4 million. It was like a world war definitely that time. So quantitatively, numerically, Kaurava army was definitely stronger than Pandava army. And yet now Duryodhana is listing out the great warriors of the other side. And he lists more. Sloka number 5. Drishtaketuschekitanaha Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kuntibojascha Shaibhyascha Narapungavaha Drishtaketuschekitanaha Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kuntibojascha Shaibhyascha Narapungavaha. So he basically says there are people, not just Satyaki, not just king of Virata, not just Drupada, then you have more powerful warriors like Drishtaketu. These are all names of warriors. Then Chekitanaha, another person, Chekitanaha. And then you have Kashirajascha, Kashiraja, the powerful, and he just doesn't say just Kashiraja, he says Viryavan Kashirajascha. So he is actually a powerful king, Kashirajascha. It's an adjective to Kashiraja. The most powerful king of Kashi, he says. Then he says Purujit. Purujit is another person, another name. Kunti Bojaha. Kunti Bojaha is basically Kunti's father. So Kunti Boja. And then Shaibya. Shaibya. And who is this Narapungavaha? Shaibya is given an adjective, he is given as Narapungavaha. Narapungavaha means who is the best among men. So he is saying Shaibya is a very powerful person, he is greatest among men. So he is also there in the other side. So all these people are supporting Pandava's army, they belong to the other side. And so even as Duryodhana is actually listing it out, basically he is seeing them and calling out their names. And as he is calling out their names, you can feel that his fear is increasing. So slowly it is actually consuming him. He is not stopping it here. Goes further. Sloka number 6. Yudha manyuscha vikrantaha uttamaujaschcha viryavan Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarvayeva Maharataha. Yudha manyuscha vikrantaha Uttamaujaschcha viryavan Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarvayeva Maharataha. Yes, Venkateshan. You are on mute. Okay. You had something to ask, Venkat? Okay, not clear. Okay, no worries. So he is basically again enumerating more soldiers. He's basically saying there are more powerful soldiers on their side. Yudhamanyuhu. Yudhamanyuhu. And again, Yudhamanyuhu, another name, and he is giving an adjective to Yudhamanyuhu. He says Vikrantaha. Vikrantaha means powerful. So very powerful Yudhamanyuhu, that person. And then he says Vikrantaha. Vikrantaha, powerful. You remember, if you remember, in Indian Navy there used to be, or still I think there is a naval vessel called Vikrant, INS Vikrant. So Vikrant means powerful. Then Uttamaujaha Viryavan. Again, Viryavan means valiant. Another great warrior. And who is this warrior? Uttamauja. Uttamauja is another person. So powerful Yudamanyu and valiant Uttamauja. And then you have, he is referring next to the name, Saubhadraha. Saubhadraha means son of Subhadra. Son of Subhadra is Abhimanyu. So he is basically calling out Abhimanyu also. Saubhadraha, Abhimanyu. And then he says Draupade Yascha. Draupade Yascha means the sons of Draupadi. Draupadi had 5 sons, one from each Pandava. So these 5 sons are called as Draupadeyaha. Draupadeyaha. So the sons of Draupadi. And who are all they? Sarva eva Maharatha. All of them are great warriors. So basically he is saying all of them are Maharathas, all of them are capable of individually taking on 10,000 people. So they are all great warriors on their side. So now we have to imagine here. He is now listing out all these warriors, and then you can see that the fear is coming in his eyes, and it's actually coming out in the words as well. Now you could see, probably we can imagine Drona is looking at him, and he is probably looking at him and conveys a message, Duryodhana, you'll have to stop. Your fear is coming out, and that is not good. So you can probably imagine that kind of a scene there, because in the next sloka, Duryodhana slightly changes his tone. So right now you can see that he is actually listing out all the great people of their side. Now in the sloka number 7, his tone suddenly changes, and the way he addresses also changes. Sloka number 7. Asmakam tu visishtaye tani bodha dvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sanyartam tan vravimite. Asmakam tu visishtaye tani bodha dvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sanyartam tan vravimite. Here he says Dvijottama. Dvijottama. We have to remember Dronacharya is a Brahmana. And according to the ashrama dharma, a Brahmana should not take to Kshatriya dharma. Fighting war is not Drona's or a Brahmana's responsibility. It is a Kshatriya's responsibility. A Brahmana should not take to Vaishya dharma. A Brahmana should not take to Kshatriya Dharma also. So he should not do any business, he should not fight a war also. I'm talking about the Varna Ashrama Dharma that were there during those days. And Drona can actually teach. Teaching archery is still valid. That is still allowed. As a Brahmana, you can teach. That is different. But you should not fight a war. In those days, a Brahmana had only 6 duties. The 6 duties were Yajanam, Yajanam, Patanam, Patanam, Danam, Pratigrihaha. Yajanam, Yajanam, Patanam, Patanam, Danam, Pratigrihaha. These 6 duties, Satkarmani, Brahmana Karmani. These 6 duties are Brahmana's duties. Yajanam, Yajanam. Yajanam means doing the rituals. So at home, a Brahmana has to do the daily rituals, pujas, whatever, at home, Yajanam. Then Yajanam. Yajanam means helping the other communities, helping the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas and Shudras to do their duties. So at home they are supposed to do their Nitya Naimitya Karma, and then they also act as, in today's terms, if you say Sastrigal or priests, they go to the other houses and help conduct the other person's rituals for their Shraddham, for their Homam and others. So Yajanam, Yajanam. So all the Vaidika karmas have to be done by the Brahmanas. And he should also officiate as a priest. Today we say, that Brahmana is a priest. Actually that is wrong. Every Brahmana is supposed to be a priest if we follow our Swadharma. If only we do our own, if we follow what has been given in the Shastras, we should be doing only priesthood. Or the Brahmanas have to be supposed to be doing priesthood. So Yajanam, Yajanam. Then second one is Patanam, Patanam. Patanam means he should study the scriptures, and Patanam, he should transfer that knowledge to the other 3 groups. So again, he has to study all the Vedas, Vedantas and other things, and then he has to teach them to the other people also, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Ashudras. A Kshatriya, for example, can do Yajanam. He can conduct his rituals, but he cannot do Yajanam. In those days, when you come to this, all these Patashalas where, those days when the children were sent to Gurukuls, even the sons of the king used to go, the Vaishyas will join. That's why you see, everybody, whether it is Rama or Krishna or anybody, everybody, or Prahalad, everybody attended the Gurukuls. Krishna was actually son of a cowherd, and yet he had to go to the Patashala. So even Vaishyas were allowed, Kshatriyas were asked to study. A Kshatriya can do Veda Adhyanam, so he can learn Vedas, but he cannot do Veda Adhyapanam. He is not supposed to teach others. He can learn but not teach. Same thing, Vaishyas also can learn Vedas, but they cannot teach. Whereas when it comes to business, so Brahmanas can learn as well as teach. Whereas in the case of business, Vaishyas can do business, Kshatriyas are not allowed to do business, Brahmanas are all not allowed to do business. So there were clear segregation of responsibilities within the society, so that nobody kinds of overlaps the responsibilities, and there are proper people assigned to do the duties, so that the society is peaceful, and you have people for everything, the right people for the right jobs, kind of thing. So we saw Yajanam, Yajanam, Patanam, Patanam, then Danam, Pratigrihaha. Dhanam we know. A Brahmana is supposed to give charity, or he has to give dakshina. And pratigriha. Pratigriha means receive. He can also receive dhanam. So the priests, when they officiate, they get dhanam. They get dhanam from Kshatriyas and Vaishyas and others. So these are the 6 responsibilities of a Brahmana. A Kshatriya can give dhanam, but they have no right to receive dhanam. Similarly, a Vaishya can also give dhanam, but they should not receive any dhanam. Again, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they all have this yajanam, dhanam, patanam, they can all do that. They can do rituals, they can study, they can give charity, but they cannot do yajanam, patanam and pratigriha. They cannot do this. This is the Varna Ashrama Dharma that was there. Yes, Subbu.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to know, if that is the case, how come Dronacharya, he was in the battlefield, he was supposed to be only a teacher, right?
Correct. Later on, you will see, Dronacharya will be questioned by Pandavas in the battlefield itself. They would say, how come you are in the battlefield? You are not even supposed to fight here. How did you actually, you are giving away your swadharma. Bhagavan also will talk about why one should not give up swadharma. He will say, in fact, even if you don't do your swadharma, it's fine, but don't do somebody else's dharma. So Drona was actually not following the ashrama there, Varna Ashrama Dharma there. So, but he did. Yes, Karthik.
Yeah, is it the same for the other acharyas also?
Who are the other acharyas? Kripacharya, yeah.
And some other teachers were also there.
No, but Kripa I thought was Kshatriya, but I'm not sure. But I'll have to check on that. But Drona was definitely a Brahmana.
Yep. Okay. Noted.
Yes.
Because if Drona, once upon a time, he punished Karna, for not disclosing that he is a Kshatriya, and that kind of a person, how he himself can.
Yeah, because he was actually, there is a story. If you go to Mahabharata, you will get to know. Basically, Duryodhana said that you have eaten the food of what we had given to you. You have no other reason other than not to fight for us. And actually, Ashwatthama was very close to Duryodhana. And therefore, for the sake of Ashwatthama, Drona was so attached to Ashwatthama. And for the sake of Ashwatthama also, he joined the war.
Thank you.
Manisha ji?
Sir, that class we had done about these like Brahmin and all these divisions that we have of. In that you had told us it is 3 types, no? Of one of karma, one of birth, and one of, sorry, I don't remember.
Guna.
The third. Guna.
Character.
So there is always an overlap. So how do we, it's all gray, it's not black and white.
So here, for the sake of, if I have to just quickly go, we will again discuss this in the 4th chapter. We would have discussed this earlier, but we would again go back to this divisions of Varna Dharma in the 4th chapter in detail. But quickly to go through, as you rightly said, the Varna is divided based on 3. One is the birth, the other one is the karma, the work, and then the guna, which is the character. So from a duty standpoint that you have to do within the society, you are supposed to follow the you are either the birth or the whatever duty has been assigned to you, which is karma. But as a person individually, you will have to imbibe lot of sattva guna and try to, and generally speaking, from a guna standpoint, the Brahmana guna is supposed to have sattva gunas at the highest. The high percentage of sattva guna should be there in a Brahmana guna person. So as a person, as an individual, we will have to elevate ourselves from Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahmana to the Brahmana guna. We will see this in detail in the 4th chapter. We will again do a review there. But here right now it is being taught from a birth standpoint here. Whatever you are born, you are supposed to do this Swadharma, Swakarma.
When you say birth, I mean, is there a classification of birth itself?
According to the Karma Kanda of the Vedas, so the Vedas have got two portions. One is the Karma Kanda, then you have the Jnana Kanda, or you have basically the Veda Purva Bhaga and the Veda Anta Bhaga. Right now we are doing Veda Anta. Here for this study, the birth or the jati is irrelevant. It is not relevant at all. Here we are only talking about guna from a Veda Anta standpoint. But from a Veda Purva Bhaga, where we talk about Karma Kanda of the Vedas, where you are doing some yajnas and others, as general duties that are assigned to you in the society, they are assigned on those days on the basis of jati or karma. So jati based assignment of duties were there. There was no kind of superiority or inferiority. It was a question of who is supposed to do what, so that the society is peaceful and there are people for every task and it is equally distributed. So, in fact, as I said, how come Drona, when in fact later in the war, Bhima actually scolds Drona. He basically criticizes Drona, saying that, you are supposed to teach us, that's fine, but you shouldn't have joined this war. And he actually scolds Drona. Drona does not have any answer for that. He actually agrees or accepts it, but he just continues. So here Drona can learn archery, he can teach archery, but he is not supposed to join the war. Anyway, now Duryodhana, why I am coming to all these things is Duryodhana now calls Drona as Dvijottama. Dvijottama. Dvija Uttama. Dvija means Brahmana, twice born. And why do we Dvija Uttama? So he says best among Brahmins. So he says Dvija Uttama. And then he says, who you are best among Brahmins. And then he says, among our warriors, asmakam tu, among us, nibodatan. Nibodatan means tan niboda. May you know those. Tan, you means may you. Niboda, know. Ye vishishtaha. Ye vishishtaha. Vishishta means viseshaha from there. Visishtaha means prominent. So among us, may you know those who are prominent. So, hey Dvijottama, hey Dronacharya, may you know those who are prominent among us. Basically, now that he has listed out all the people, and Drona is giving him a stare, saying that Duryodhana, you'll have to stop here. Now he is actually slightly changing his words. He says, may you know the important warriors on our side. So he's basically saying that. And Nayakaha, Nayaka mama sainyasya, he says. Nayakaha means, Nayak means leader. We know Nayak. Nayak means leader, commanders. And then he says, Duryodhana's, the ego comes here. Mama sainyasya, my army. May you know those prominent, who are prominent among us, the leaders of my army. Remember, while starting this sloka, he started asmakam. He said us, our, among us. Among us, he first started. Then his ego took over and he says, Mama Sainyasa, in my army, may you know who are those people who are prominent. And he says, Samyartam tan bravimite. Bravimi tan. Bravimi means mentioning. Tante, I am to you. I am mentioning these to you. For what purpose? Samyartam. Samyartam means for the sake of information. So I am listing out the prominent people who are warriors in my army. I am actually listing it to you just for information. Basically, you think that I am afraid by calling out their names. No. I am trying to tell you who are the people there. Now I am actually going to list you out who are the people in my army, who are those prominent people. So basically, he is trying to balance it out here. And he is saying who are the people who was in his army. He is trying to balance them out. So he will go to the next sloka. So sloka number 8. Sloka number 8 we will see probably in the next class. It's already 5. Sorry, I didn't even realize that we have crossed the time. We will see sloka number 8 in the next class. Any questions or comments? Okay. Yes, Manisha ji.
Sir, I missed a lot of classes. So should I update myself on the YouTube channel?
Yes, please. Please do. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah.